Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm DJ, and this is the third video in our Behringer wing tutorial series. If you haven't seen the first two videos, I'll have them linked down below, but in this video, we're going to be talking about the routing options that are available in the console. So let's get started. To get to the routing section, press the routing button to the left of the touchscreen. There are three pages in routing that we will use: sources, channels, and outputs. This is split this way because there are so many more input options for you to choose from than the console can actually use at once. And to help with there being so many input sources, you can customize label, color, and set an icon for each input source specifically, separate from the channel strip customizations. Compared to the X/M32's 8-block format of routing, the wing can put any channel from any source anywhere in the console. So any input from each of the input types can all be put in the same fader bank, whereas until software version 4 for the X and M32 with its user inputs, it wasn't possible to use an input source unless it was block routed into one of the 40 channels available already. Let's talk about the I/O types. For local I/O, we have 8 XLR in and out, and 8 1/4-inch aux in and out, which are on the back of the console. Then we have an AES-3 input and an AES-3 output. These are 2-channel digital over 3-pin XLR. And then we also have StageCon, which is a newer format that is 32-channel digital over a single 3-pin XLR. But there are very few options for this at the moment. Next, we have 3 AES-50 ports, which are going to be the most common way of getting audio into and out of the console. And each of these ports can send and receive 48 channels total. The next two options are the Wing Live Card and the USB audio, which have 64 and 48 channels respectively. And then the last two options are the USB player on the top of the console, which has 4 channels it can play back, and then the oscillator. Let's look at the sources page. This page is all about your sources and how you can customize them. At the top left, you will see the source group box with a drop down showing all the source types that we talked about, which is where we select the source type we would like to customize. I'm going to select AES-A. After selecting one of the source types, the right half of the screen is where all the work happens to customize and format each channel. We have customizable settings such as the name, the icon, and the color, as well as user tags and mute groups. Format options to choose from is if the channel is going to be mono or paired with the odd to even adjacent channel in a stereo or mid-side configuration. We can also flip the phase using the polarity switch, turn on phantom, or adjust gain from here as well. To do any of these customizations, you just choose the input on the left side and the controls become available. That's it for the input page, so next let's look at the channels page. In the channels page, we have 2 halves that are filled with the same patchbox look from the left half of the source page. The left side is the main and alternate for channels 1 through 40 and aux 1 through 8. And then the right side is our sources. Now, just like the input page, we have a drop down of all the source types which we select to pull up those input sources. To patch from the source to the channel, hit the unlock button and then tap the channel you want to patch and then select the source. Now in the top right, there's a customization drop down. This has keep, source to channel, and then channel to source. What this does is keep will keep both customizations separate from each other and will not change either the channel or the input source's naming, color, or icon. Source to channel will take whatever name, color, and icon from the input source and copy it over to the channel, and then vice versa for channel to source. Now let's look at outputs. This page is swapped around where the physical stage box and local outs as well as USB are on the left with the source group on the right. What's cool about this is we have all of our input sources on here as well for if we want to do a direct output. But then we have our typical outs such as our buses, mains, and matrices. We can also send out our console monitoring, such as these two speakers here, and our effect sends. To patch, select the desired output group, and then select your output destination. At that point, just tap on whatever output from inside the console that you want to send to this destination. So in this case, I'm sending the main left and right to AES50C 1 and 2. Now in the wing, buses are all stereo capable and are defaulted as such. So for in-ears, this is great, but for mono outputs like stage wedges, you'll want to change the bus to mono, and there are two ways to get to it. First is to select the view button when you're on the Busmasters layer in the center fader section, and then hit the block directly below the bus name. And here on the far right side of the trim and balance, you will see a mono button. Pressing this will change the bus to mono, and you can go back to the patch and then patch the mono bus to the desired output. The second way is to press the meters button to the left side of the touchscreen, and then tap on the buses section. Then you can follow the same process as before by tapping the first block. Since AES50 will be the most common way to get signals to and from the console, I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper for a while. The Behringer S16 and S32, as well as the Midas DL16 and DL32, will still work with this console, and will probably be the most common stage boxes used. Now the stage boxes this console will be used with is actually Midas's Pro I/O boxes. So as long as you update the IOs, if you're going to use these, to the correct firmware, they will communicate with the wing and show on their screens what AES ports they are connected to by saying wing A, B, or C. The stage boxes that we're using in our setup are the DL151, 153, and 154. The 151 is a 24 input box, the 153 is a 16 in and an 8 out box, and the 154 is a 16 out and 8 in box. This setup gives us 48 inputs and 24 outputs just with the stage boxes alone. Now on the S16 or 32 and the DL16 or 32, to receive signal from the inputs, just patch from AES 1 through 16 or 1 through 32. And to send signal to the outputs, all you need is to patch your buses, mains, or matrices to AES 1 through 8 or 1 through 16, corresponding directly to the output you want to use. But when it comes to the DL151, 153, and 154, these actually use a different way to send and receive AES, since these boxes are 96K capable. Not with the wing, of course. This is only a 48K console. Each of these boxes have 3 groups of 8. In these groups, they go from the first input or output in group 1 being AES1 to the 8th input or output of group 3 being AES24. The DL151 is 3 groups of 8 inputs. The DL153 is 2 groups of 8 inputs and then 1 group of 8 outputs. That means on this box, to patch to the 8 outputs, you will be patching from AES17 to AES24. The DL154 is different from the other 2 boxes, as this one has outputs first, so 2 groups of 8 outputs and 1 group of 8 inputs. To patch to any of the outputs on this box, you would be using AES 1 through 16, and to use the 8 inputs of this box, you'd patch from AES 17 to 24. Thanks for watching. If you haven't seen some of the other videos I've done so far on the wing, I'll have those in the playlist linked down below. And if you'd like to keep watching the videos as they come out, go ahead and hit subscribe. And thank you. I'll see you in the next one.